My sister, let me tell you something. The enemy rarely comes looking like the enemy. He comes dressed in what you prayed for, speaking words that sound like they were written in the very journal where you poured your heart out to God. But if you lean in, if you pay attention, you will notice something. The actions don't match the words. The spirit doesn't match the promise. Peace you felt before they came suddenly begins to slip away. There are moments in life when God will whisper, "Be careful," not to scare you, to prepare you. That warning is not to make you live in fear. It's to make you live in discernment. You are too valuable to walk blind into the hands of someone who has bad intentions for you. We live in a world where manipulation has become an art form, where charm has replaced character, and where a smile can hide a dagger. That's why you need to know the signs, because God will never send you someone to destroy you, but the enemy will. Woman of God, there are voices, there are invitations, there are relationships that look like blessings but are really traps. Some people want your presence, but not your purpose. They want your time, but not your truth. They want the beauty of your light, but not the responsibility of treating it right. God says, be careful. When you feel confusion instead of clarity, when your spirit feels heavy instead of peaceful, when their words sound sweet but their actions taste bitter, sometimes He's telling you that is not sent to you. That is sent against you. I'm not telling you to close your heart. I'm telling you to guard it. Guard it like the treasure it is. Guard it because it carries dreams, its promises, and the oil that God has poured over your life. And hear me, you don't owe anybody unlimited access to your life just because they knocked on your door. You can love them from a distance. You can forgive them without giving them your trust. You can pray for them without giving them a seat at your table. God gives warnings because He knows what you don't know. He sees what you can't see, and He hears the conversations you'll never hear. So if He's showing you signs, take them seriously. Don't second guess His voice. You see, one of the most dangerous assumptions you can ever make is thinking that a smile equals sincerity. We live in a world where a smile can be a mask, a disguise, carefully crafted cover that hides what the heart truly carries. A smile can be warm, inviting, and charming, and still hide cold motives. There are people who will stand in your presence, flash the brightest smile, speak the sweetest words, yet have thoughts about you that would make your spirit tremble if you could hear them out loud. The danger is, most of us were raised to take a smile as a sign of kindness, but wisdom will teach you that while a smile may open the door, discernment is what tells you whether you should walk through it. There's a reason God calls us to discern spirits, not just to read faces. A face can fool you. The spirit will reveal itself if you pay attention. A smile can be rehearsed, but a spirit cannot be disguised for long. That's why some people can meet you, smile at you, and yet something deep in your gut feels uneasy. That unease is not paranoia. That's your God-given warning system saying, look deeper. Don't take this at face value. Let me tell you something. The enemy is strategic. If he knows you won't open the door to hostility, he'll send friendliness. If he knows you're too wise to be deceived by insults, he'll try compliments. If he knows you'd never welcome someone who's openly against you, he'll disguise opposition as opportunity. Think about it. Even Judas greeted Jesus with a kiss. A kiss, the most affectionate gesture. And yet it was the very act that signaled betrayal. That's why you can't take every sign of affection as a sign of alignment. Some people's smiles are not indicators of loyalty, camouflage for their real agenda. It's easy to get caught up in appearances because a smile disarms us. It makes us feel safe, welcomed, even wanted. My sister, let me tell you, the heart behind that smile matters far more than the curve of the lips. The Bible says, by their fruits you will know them. Not by their smile, not by their charisma, not by their outward gestures, but by their fruit, the results, the actions, the patterns that reveal who they really are. Notice how they act when you're not in the spotlight. See how they behave when they have nothing to gain from you. Pay attention to whether their encouragement is consistent or only shows up when it benefits them. Watch for how they treat others, not just you. Because someone who smiles in your face but tears down others behind their backs will one day do the same to you. Sometimes God will allow you to see small cracks in the mask. Maybe they slip up and say something that reveals envy. Maybe their encouragement feels hollow. Maybe you notice they only show up in your wins but vanish in your losses. Don't ignore those signs. God's Spirit is showing you glimpses so you won't get entangled in something that will harm you later. Let's be real, some of the most painful betrayals in life didn't come from enemies. They came from people who knew how to look like friends. People who stood close enough to touch your hand, but secretly aimed to pull the rug from under your feet. And here's the tricky part. All bad intentions come from openly malicious hearts. Sometimes people smile at you while carrying wounds, insecurities, and envy they've never dealt with. Your light triggers their darkness, and without even meaning to, they start to undermine you. That's why guarding your heart is not about walking around suspicious of everyone. It's about walking with wisdom. It's about testing the spirit, not just trusting the face. It's about letting people's actions over time determine their place in your life. Rather than handing out full access based on a single warm moment, the enemy doesn't need to destroy you with force if he can distract you with friendliness. And he doesn't need to fight you directly if he can attach someone to you who will slowly drain your energy, your focus, and your joy. That's why God says, be careful. Don't get me wrong. There are genuine smiles in this world. There are people whose kindness is real, whose intentions are pure, whose presence is a blessing. But you will know them not by the first impression, but by the lasting impact they leave on your spirit. True friends leave you feeling stronger, not drained. They inspire trust, not suspicion. They encourage growth, not compromise. So, what should you do when you encounter a smile but feel a check in your spirit? Don't ignore it. Take it to God in prayer. Ask Him, Lord, show me what's beneath the surface, and be willing to wait for the answer. Sometimes God will reveal it quickly. Other times, He will let time do the revealing. Either way, trust that His protection is always in operation. Remember, even the serpent in the garden didn't come hissing and snarling. He came talking. Calm, persuasive, appealing. The danger was not in how he looked. It was in what he intended. That's how the enemy works. He packages harm in pleasant appearances. That's why your discernment is your shield. Don't feel guilty for taking time to observe. Protect your heart. Protect your peace. Protect your destiny. Because while smiles are beautiful, they are not proof of good intentions. And you are far too valuable to give your trust away without testing the ground you're standing on. Doesn't just want you to be loving, He wants you to be wise. And wisdom says, not everyone who smiles at you is for you. Some are just passing through. Others are sent to test your discernment. So keep your heart open, but keep your eyes sharp. Love people, but listen to God. And when He shows you that a smile is only a mask, have the courage to step back, no matter how warm it looks. Because in the end, it's not the smile that sustains you. It's the truth behind it. He is not only the God who blesses, opens doors, and pours out abundance. He is also the God who warns. And those warnings, they are not punishments. They are not restrictions. They are not meant to limit you. They are shields. They are safety nets. They are divine guardrails designed to keep you from walking into something that could destroy you. When God says, be careful, it's not because He's trying to make you fearful. It's because He's trying to keep you from falling. His warnings are like a parent telling a child, don't touch the stove, it's hot. The parent isn't trying to ruin the child's curiosity or independence. They're trying to prevent a burn that could leave a scar. The problem is we often mistake God's no for rejection when it's actually protection. We misinterpret His wait as a delay when it's actually preparation. And sometimes we even ignore His warnings because what we see looks so good. You need to hear this. Everything that looks good isn't God. The Bible says that the enemy can disguise himself as an angel of light. That means the things he sends your way won't always come in dark, scary packaging. No, they'll often look like answers to prayer. They'll come wrapped in beauty, speaking the right words, offering the right opportunities. And that's why you need the voice of God, because He sees what you cannot see. God's warnings are often gentle at first, a small unease in your spirit, a little check in your heart, whisper that says something's off. But if we keep pushing past those nudges, the warnings may grow louder, doors start closing, relationships become strained, plans keep falling through. Sometimes we call it bad luck, but in reality, it's God putting his hand over a situation and saying, not for you. Not right now. You see, protection doesn't always feel comfortable. Sometimes God's protection looks like disappointment. Sometimes it looks like rejection. Sometimes it looks like losing something you thought you couldn't live without. But what you need to remember is this: if God removed it, it's because it could not carry you into your destiny. Think about how many heartbreaks, losses, or betrayals you've lived through, and now, looking back, you can see God's fingerprints all over the situation. At the time, you didn't understand it. You cried, you questioned, you pleaded. Now you can see that if he hadn't shut that door, you would have been stuck in a place that could never hold the fullness of your purpose. God's warnings are rooted in his love. He loves you too much to watch you walk blindly into harm. He loves you too much to let your desire for something override his knowledge of what's truly best for you. And sometimes he will allow you to feel the weight of that warning so strongly that you have no choice but to step back. Let me tell you, ignoring God's warning is costly. Some of us have scars because we heard him whisper, "Don't go." And we went anyway. We heard him say, "This isn't it," but we convinced ourselves we could make it work. And after the tears, the pain, and the loss, we realized he was trying to save us all along. That's why the Bible says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Because your understanding is limited. You can't see the hidden intentions in someone's heart. You can't see the traps that have been set in your path. But God can. He sees the conversations behind closed doors. He hears the plans that are being made in secret. He knows the roads you can't see, both the blessings and the dangers. When he warns you, it's because he knows the whole picture. And here's the thing, God doesn't just warn you about people, he warns you about places. He warns you about timing. He warns you about opportunities that look like open doors, but are actually counterfeit. Some doors are not opened by God. They are set by the enemy as distractions. They look shiny, promising, and exciting, but they will lead you off the path God has for you. Without his warnings, you could waste years chasing something that was never meant for you. His protection also works in ways you may never notice. Sometimes he'll delay your plans just long enough to avoid an unseen danger. Maybe you were late to an appointment and frustrated, but that delay kept you from being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Maybe you lost a job you thought was your dream, but that loss positions you for the opportunity that would truly fulfill your calling. We often want God to speak in dramatic, undeniable ways, but many times his protection comes through quiet, subtle signs. That's why you have to stay close to him. You have to keep your spiritual ears open, your heart sensitive, your prayer life strong, because the closer you are to his presence, the clearer his warnings will be. Now, understand this, God's warnings are not meant to isolate you from people or experiences. They are meant to insulate you from harm. There's a difference. Insulation means you can walk into situations, meet new people, and face challenges, but you carry a shield of discernment that helps you navigate safely. And when you obey God's warnings, you open the door for his peace to cover you. Even if you don't understand why he's saying, no, or wait, you can rest knowing that the one who formed you, who numbered your days, who called you by name, is the one guiding your steps. You are not missing out when you follow God's warnings. You are being preserved. You are not losing when you walk away from what he says to avoid. You are being positioned. You are not behind because you took a step back. You are being prepared for what's ahead. The safest place you can be is inside the boundaries of God's protection. That doesn't mean life will be free from hardship, but it does mean you'll be spared from dangers you were never meant to face. So the next time you feel that tug in your spirit, that heaviness in your heart, that inner voice saying, this isn't right, don't dismiss it. Don't let emotions, pressure, or impatience talk you into ignoring God's signal. Stop. Listen. Because in the end, his warnings are not chains, they are wings. They don't keep you trapped, they keep you free. Free from unnecessary pain, free from wasted years, free from battles that were never meant to be yours. God is not the author of confusion. That means when confusion is present, God is not. And his presence carries peace. His direction brings clarity. His voice settles the heart. So when your spirit feels tangled, when your mind feels clouded, your emotions are being pulled in every direction, that is not from God. Confusion is a warning light on the dashboard of your soul. It's God's way of saying, slow down, don't make a move yet. Something here is not right. And yet, many of us have made some of our worst decisions in the middle of confusion because we were too impatient to wait for clarity. Here's what you have to understand. Confusion is not always loud and dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle. It shows up as that little knot in your stomach you can't explain. It appears in the way you feel unsettled after talking to someone. Lingers in the hesitation you feel before saying yes to an opportunity. You can't always point to the reason, but you know deep down that piece is missing. Why is confusion such a dangerous sign? Because it distorts your perception. It makes wrong things look right and right things look wrong. It causes you to doubt your own discernment. It clouds your ability to see people and situations for what they really are. And when your vision is clouded, you are more vulnerable to deception. The enemy loves confusion because it weakens your confidence. If he can keep you spinning in uncertainty, he can make you second guess what God already told you. He can make you overthink your decisions until you're too exhausted to make the right one. And he can delay you from stepping into what God has for you because you're stuck trying to figure out what's true and what's false. Think about it. In Genesis, when the serpent approached Eve, he didn't attack her directly. He confused her. He twisted God's words just enough to make her doubt what she already knew. That's how deception works. It's not always an outright lie. Sometimes it's a subtle distortion, enough to make you question your footing. And here's the thing, confusion is not just a spiritual attack. Sometimes it's also the result of mixing too many voices in your life. When you're listening to God, but also to the opinions of friends, the pressure of culture, and the expectations of people who don't know your calling, your spirit gets cluttered. Too many voices create static. Static makes it hard to hear the clear frequency of God's voice. That's why when confusion shows up, your first step should not be to force a decision. Your first step should be to pause and seek God until peace returns. If you don't have peace, you don't have the green light to move. Let me give you a truth that will save you years of pain. Peace is a confirmation, confusion is a caution. If a relationship, opportunity, decision is truly from God, it will not leave you feeling chronically uncertain, anxious, or conflicted. You may have natural fears or nerves, yes, but at the core, there will be a sense of this is right. When something is not from Him, you will often feel the opposite, an inner restlessness you can't shake, a fog that won't lift, a heaviness in your spirit that you can't explain away. And hear me, confusion is not something you should try to power through. Too many people ignore confusion, thinking it will just work itself out over time. But confusion left unchecked becomes entanglement. And the longer you stay entangled, harder it is to break free. Sometimes confusion is God's way of slowing you down because He knows the truth is not yet visible. You might not have the full picture. You might not have seen someone's real character yet. You might not know the hidden cost of what you're about to say yes to. So He lets you feel that unease to keep you from making a premature move. For God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. That means whenever you're confused, you need to ask yourself, if God didn't write this, who did? Is it the enemy trying to distract me? Is it my emotions clouding my judgment? Is it someone else's agenda influencing my decisions? Whatever the source, you need to address it before moving forward. Now, let's talk about people for a moment. Sometimes confusion comes into your life through a person. You know what I mean. They say one thing today, another thing tomorrow. They give mixed signals. They tell you they value you, but their actions say otherwise. One moment you feel secure with them, the next you're doubting everything. That instability is a red flag. Genuine relationships, whether friendship, romance, or partnership, bring a sense of steadiness. Toxic ones keep you guessing. Don't let anyone convince you that love is supposed to be confusing. No, real love, the kind that's grounded in truth and respect, does not leave you feeling like you're walking on eggshells. And that goes for every kind of relationship, not just romantic ones. You also need to understand that confusion is expensive, costs you time, energy, and focus. Every day you spend trying to figure out something God never called you to be a part of is a day you could have spent building what He did call you to. The enemy will happily keep you tangled in confusion as long as it keeps you from moving toward your purpose. Here's the good news. God doesn't just warn you about confusion, He offers clarity. And that clarity often comes when you step back, get quiet, allow Him to speak without the noise of competing voices. It might mean fasting from certain conversations, taking a break from social media, or spending more time in prayer and scripture. The more time you spend with Him, the more you'll recognize His voice. And when you know His voice, care enough, you'll know immediately when something doesn't sound like Him. That's when confusion loses its power, because you're no longer dependent on outward appearances or emotions to make decisions. You're anchored in truth. My sister, if you're standing at a crossroads right now and confusion is swirling around you, take it as the red flag it is. Do not rush. Do not force. Do not let pressure push you into a decision before God gives you peace, because here's what I know, clarity will come. And when it does, it will bring with it the calm assurance that you are exactly where you're supposed to be, doing exactly what you're supposed to do, exactly who you're supposed to do it with. Until then, let confusion be your signal to pause. Let it be your reminder that you serve a God who speaks in peace, not chaos, and let it strengthen your resolve to wait until His light breaks through the fog. Your heart is not just a beating organ in your chest, it is the wellspring of your life. It's where your faith grows, where your love flows, where your joy is nurtured, and where your dreams are birthed. It holds the blueprint of your calling and the seeds of your destiny. It is sacred ground, and not everyone should be allowed to walk on it. Above all else, guard your heart. Everything you do flows from it. Did you hear that? Everything you do, your choices, your words, your relationships, your reactions, your purpose, all of it flows out of the condition of your heart. That's why God tells you to guard it above all else. Because if your heart is unprotected, everything else in your life becomes vulnerable. Here's the reality. Not everyone who comes into your life will value your heart the way God does. Some people will see its beauty, but not its worth. Others will admire its light, but try to dim it. And some will want the benefit of being close to it without the responsibility of handling it with care. That's why guarding your heart is not about building walls to keep love out. It's about setting boundaries to keep harm out. There's a difference. A wall says, no one can get close to me. A boundary says, you can come close only in the right way. Think about a priceless diamond in a jewelry store. It's displayed where it can be seen, admired, appreciated, but it's always under glass, guarded and protected. Why? Because its value demands security. Your heart is even more precious than that diamond, and yet, too often, we hand it to people who have not earned the right to hold it. You have to understand that access to your heart should be earned over time, not given away in a moment. Just because someone smiles at you, compliments you, or shares similar interests doesn't mean they're qualified to hold your trust. Trust is not granted based on chemistry. It's proven through consistency. Guarding your heart means being intentional about what you let in. That includes people, conversations, and even thoughts. If you constantly feed your heart with negativity, fear, and doubt, it will affect how you see yourself, your future, and your God. If you allow toxic people to pour their poison into your life, eventually it will seep into your spirit and color your decisions. Some of you need to understand you are not obligated to give everyone unlimited access to you. You are allowed to say, I love you. I can't let you speak into my life anymore. You are allowed to step back from relationships that keep wounding you. You are allowed to protect your peace without feeling guilty about it. Guarding your heart also means guarding it from your own impulses. Sometimes we are our own worst enemies. We rush into situations without praying. We attach ourselves to people without discernment, and we make commitments without counting the cost. Later, we find ourselves broken, drained, or disappointed, not because God didn't warn us, because we didn't guard ourselves, and guarding your heart is not a one-time decision. It's a daily discipline. You have to continually check what you're allowing to enter your spirit. Ask yourself, is this conversation building me up or tearing me down? Is this relationship drawing me closer to God or pulling me away? Is this habit feeding my soul or draining it? Will be times when guarding your heart feels lonely, because the truth is, not everyone will understand your boundaries. Some people will call you too cautious, too serious, or even, too guarded. But those who are truly meant to be in your life will respect the gates you've set up, because they're not trying to take advantage of you. They're trying to walk with you. Remember, guarding your heart is not about living in fear. It's about living in wisdom. Wisdom says you can be kind without being non-arvid. You can be loving without being reckless. You can be generous without being exploited. Hear me. Guarding your heart doesn't mean you stop giving. It means you give in the right places. You pour into people who also pour into you. You invest in relationships that honor your value. You share your dreams with those who will nurture them, not sabotage them. Think about Jesus. He loved the multitudes, but he didn't give everyone the same level of access. He spoke to the crowds, dined with his disciples. He shared his most intimate moments with a smaller inner circle. Peter, James, and John. Even the Son of God guarded his heart by being intentional about his inner circle. If he needed boundaries, so do you. Another reason to guard your heart is because the enemy knows that if he can wound your heart, he can weaken your faith. He will use betrayal, rejection, and disappointment to try to harden your heart, because a hardened heart is harder to reach with God's truth. That's why you can't let just anyone plant seeds in your spirit. What goes in will eventually grow. So make sure you're only planting seeds of life, truth, and hope. And let's talk about your future for a moment. Your calling, your purpose, your destiny. They are all connected to the condition of your heart. If your heart is weighed down with bitterness, it will slow your progress. If it's consumed with fear, it will limit your potential. If it's filled with unresolved wounds, it will keep you from loving freely. That's why guarding it is not selfish. It's necessary for your assignment. There will be moments when God himself will step in and help you guard your heart. He'll remove people who don't belong, close doors that are not safe, and reveal truths that may hurt in the moment but heal in the long run. When that happens, don't fight him. Trust that he's not taking something from you. He's protecting something in you. You are worth protecting. Your peace is worth protecting. Your joy is worth protecting. Your destiny is worth protecting. The enemy will try to convince you that you're being too much by setting boundaries. But the truth is you're being wise. Guard your heart like treasure, because it is. Keep it soft toward God, but guard it toward those who do not value it. Openly, but discern deeply. Give generously, but protect wisely, because everything you do flows from this one sacred place. And if you keep it pure, whole, and healthy, you will live in a way that honors the God who entrusted it to you. Just because someone wants to be close to you doesn't mean they're entitled to be. Just because they've been in your life for a long time doesn't mean they automatically have the right to stay in the same position. Time doesn't equal trust, and proximity doesn't equal privilege. You are a daughter of the King, and your life, your time, your energy, your heart, your resources are valuable. You don't just hand the keys to your most precious spaces to anyone who knocks on the door. If you would never give a stranger full access to your home without knowing who they are, why would you give full access to your mind, heart, and spirit without discernment? Too often, we feel obligated to maintain closeness with people out of guilt, history, or pressure. Hear me. Loyalty is beautiful when it's mutual. It's destructive when it's one-sided. You do not owe anyone unlimited access simply because you once shared a moment, a memory, or a season together. Seasons change, and so do levels of access. Access must be earned through trust, consistency, and respect. If someone can't respect your boundaries, they can't handle your blessings. If they can't celebrate your growth without feeling threatened, they don't deserve to walk with you into the next chapter. Jesus himself modeled this principle. He ministered to thousands, but he didn't allow thousands to follow him into his most intimate spaces. He chose the 12 to walk closely, and even among them, he had an inner circle of 3, Peter, James, and John. The Son of God didn't let everyone into the room where his most sacred moments happened. If Jesus didn't give everyone equal access, neither should you. And let me say this plainly, when you let the wrong people too close, they will damage what God is building in you. Some people will take your openness as an opportunity to manipulate you. Some will use what you share in vulnerability as a weapon against you later. Others will simply drain you, taking from you without ever pouring back in. And here's where many of us struggle. We confuse kindness with access. You can be kind without giving someone the privilege of being in your inner circle. You can forgive without reuniting. You can pray for someone without putting them back in the position to hurt you again. Forgiveness is commanded, access is earned. When you start limiting access, expect pushback. People who were comfortable using you will accuse you of changing. They will say you're acting brand new, when really, you're just acting wise. They may try to guilt you with phrases like, "After all I've done for you," or "We've known each other forever." But wisdom will teach you that length of time is not the same as depth of loyalty. God is intentional about the people he places in your life for each season. Some are meant to walk with you for a lifetime, others for a chapter, some only for a moment. The danger comes when we try to make seasonal people permanent. When someone's assignment in your life is over, keeping them in a position they no longer belong will cost you your peace, your focus, and sometimes even your purpose. Access is also about protecting your space. Your time is one of the most valuable resources you have. And once it's spent, you can't get it back. You can recover money. You can recover opportunities. But you can never recover wasted years. That's why you can't let just anyone monopolize your time. People who consistently drain you, distract you, or derail, you don't deserve constant access to you. And let's talk about emotional access for a moment. Emotional access means you allow someone to influence how you feel, how you see yourself, and how you make decisions. Someone's presence consistently leaves you feeling insecure, anxious, or diminished. It's a sign that they shouldn't have that level of access to you. You have to be the gatekeeper of your own life, just like a security guard decides who gets to enter a building. You decide who gets to enter the sacred spaces of your heart, mind, and daily life. And like any good gatekeeper, you need criteria. Limiting access doesn't mean you stop loving people. In fact, it often means you love them enough to not enable unhealthy patterns for their sake and yours. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is create distance so that you can both heal, grow, and find healthier ways to connect. This principle also applies to opportunities, not just people. Just because an opportunity knocks doesn't mean you have to open the door. Some opportunities are distractions dressed as blessings. If saying yes to something means saying no to your peace, your purpose, or your alignment with God, then it's not worth it. Let me remind you, you are a steward of your own life. God has entrusted you with time, talents, relationships, and resources, and part of stewardship is deciding who gets access to them. You will give an account for how you guarded what he gave you. That means saying no is not just self-care, it's obedience. Let me tell you something freeing. You don't have to explain every no you give. Boundaries do not require lengthy explanations. Sometimes your no is simply because God told you so, and that's enough. The truth is, not everyone can handle the level of favor God is putting on your life. Not everyone can celebrate your breakthroughs without feeling envy. Not everyone can walk with you into your calling without trying to control the direction, and that's okay. They don't have to, because God will send the right people who will celebrate you without competing with you, who will challenge you without diminishing you, who will protect your heart as if it were their own. Stop feeling guilty for protecting your access. Your life is valuable. Your time is valuable. Your peace is valuable. And the people who truly love you will respect the boundaries you set to protect those things. Access is earned, not owed. And when you live by that truth, you'll find that you have more energy, more clarity, more peace, and more room for the people and opportunities that truly belong in your life. We've all been there, standing at the threshold of something we wanted so badly. A relationship we were sure was the one, a job we thought would change our life, an opportunity we prayed for, dreamed about, even rearranged our life to prepare for, and then the door shut. Sometimes it shut slowly, other times it slammed in our face without warning. In those moments, it's easy to feel rejected, abandoned, or overlooked. We wonder, why God? Why will you let me get so close, only for it to fall apart? What we don't always realize is that a closed door is not God punishing you. It's God protecting you. You see, you only see what's on this side of the door. God sees what's on the other side. He sees the traps, the betrayals, the heartbreaks, the compromises you would have had to make just to stay there. He knows that what you're crying over now might have destroyed you later. Think about it. How many times have you looked back at something you once begged God for, and now you thank Him you didn't get it? That relationship you thought you couldn't live without, now you see the character issues you ignored. I challenge you to love it enough. That job you thought would be your dream, now you realize it would have drained the life out of you. What felt like rejection in the moment was actually redirection towards something better. We often confuse closed doors with failure. But God is not in the business of setting you up to fail. He's in the business of setting you up for purpose. And sometimes the only way He can get you to move toward your true destiny is to close the door on what's familiar but not fruitful. Here's the thing, open doors feel exciting, but closed doors require faith. It's easy to walk through an open door and feel confident, but it takes deep trust to stand before a closed door, turn away, and still believe God is something better ahead. Closed doors test our ability to believe that God is good, even when life doesn't go according to our plan. The Bible is full of examples of closed doors that became blessings. Joseph was sold into slavery by his brothers. That was a closed door to his family and freedom. But that very closed door positioned him to become second in command over Egypt and save an entire nation. Ruth lost her husband, a devastating closed door, yet it led her to meet Boaz and become part of the lineage of Jesus Christ. Even Jesus faced closed doors in his ministry. There were towns where he couldn't perform miracles because of their unbelief, so he moved on. The Son of God could experience closed doors and keep moving forward. So can you. Sometimes God closes a door because the timing is wrong. You might be ready in your heart, but He knows the world around you isn't prepared to receive what you carry. And if He lets you step into something too early, it could crush you instead of bless you. Waiting isn't punishment, it's preparation. Other times, God closes a door because you've outgrown what's behind it. You've matured, you've healed, you've evolved. But that space hasn't. If you force yourself to stay, you'll have to shrink to fit, and God never calls you to shrink for the sake of comfort. Closed doors push you into new spaces where you can grow into the fullness of who you were created to be. One of the most dangerous things you can do is try to force open a door God has closed. That's how you end up drained, frustrated, stuck in places you were never meant to be. If you have to beg, chase, or compromise your values to keep it, it's not from God. Blessings from Him come with peace, not constant chaos. Closed doors also reveal people's true intentions. When certain doors shut, watch who walks away and who stays. The ones who only stuck around because of what you could give them will disappear. But the ones who truly love you will stay, even when there's no benefit in it for them. In that way, the closed door becomes a filter that protects your heart from counterfeit connections. Let me tell you, God is strategic. He never shuts one door without having another one prepared. The problem is, we often stay staring at the closed one for so long that we miss the new one He's opening. That's why you can't let disappointment paralyze you. You have to keep moving, keep praying, keep believing, even when you can't see what's next. And remember, some blessings only make sense in hindsight. Right now, you might still be in the middle of the heartbreak, confusion, or loss. But one day, you will look back and say, Lord, thank you for loving me enough to say no. Thank you for saving me from what I couldn't see. Closed doors teach you to trust God's character more than your circumstances. They remind you that He's a good Father who doesn't just give you what you want. He gives you what you need. And sometimes what you need is not an open door, but a firm no that saves your life. So the next time you face a closed door, shift your perspective. Instead of asking, why me? Ask, what's next? Instead of seeing it as rejection, see it as redirection. Instead of mourning what you lost, get excited for what's coming. Because if God closed it, it wasn't your best. And if it wasn't your best, then your best is still ahead. And let me leave you with this. Some of you are standing in front of a closed door right now, and it hurts. You don't understand why God would let it happen. You feel like you've been left behind. But hear me, God didn't bring you this far to abandon you. He's closing this door so He can lead you to something greater, something more aligned with your purpose, something that will bless you in ways you can't even imagine. It may feel like loss now, but one day you'll see it for what it truly was, a divine act of protection. That's why you can thank God in advance for every closed door, because you know His plans are to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you hope and a future. A closed door is not the end. It's the beginning of a better chapter. Trust Him with the next step. Walk away from what's shut and walk toward what's promised. Your blessing is ahead, behind.